What up, sister?
Yo, yo.
Yo, yo. So we are recording this right now. The recording has kicked off. So we'll just see. I'm on a little early today. Joe is actually in Quito, Ecuador.
Nice.
Yeah, he's on a mountain biking trip. And so of course, Joe set this up to be all automatic and all that other stuff because I'm a ding dong, you know me. And which is awesome. But what's interesting is that they're delayed on their trip, I guess, because hey Todd, they're delayed on their trip because I guess there's a bunch of indigenous protesters in Quito blocking all the roads for people and supplies to get in and out. And so that's pretty interesting. Going to have to check into the Fantastic Life on social and see if
I saw a post on it earlier and it looked like they didn't mention the issues, but I
yeah.
don't probably see all of their posts.
Yeah. So kind of interesting. Did I tell you that we finally found some mountain bikes and actually, Joe, after I don't know how long it's been, 12, 14 years, something like that, is wearing off on me so much. Now I have to mountain bike. So the girls and I finally were able to rent some bikes because they're super expensive to buy to make sure that we don't kill ourselves or are too scared or wimp out. And we freaking loved it. So
It's great. It's great.
yeah,
There's so many good trails. I just hey Todd, you're on mute if you're talking.
Oh, no, I'm actually talking to someone off screen.
Oh, very good.
Thank you.
I had a few over the handlebars, so
oh yeah,
I got myself off of mountain biking and I just stay on the roads now.
I hear you. We took one of my girls' little friends with us. We're just chit chatting, Todd, because we don't really start till 11:30, so we're just on early here. The little gal that we took with us, her brother, I guess. The mom told me after we got home when I took her kid mountain biking, but her brother had like a terrible accident mountain biking, kind of a fluke, and fell over, knocked his 2 front teeth out, got a concussion and broke his jaw. Yeah, luckily she's a dentist, so she shoved him back in his mouth and took him home, and that was up in Bend. But yeah, just I think we're gonna gear up with the face mask type helmets and stuff like that. So here we got some people starting to jump on. Todd, where are you at, if you can hear us?
Yeah, I'm in Tukwila.
Nice.
Yeah.
How's that? What's your discipline in real estate? Are you flipping, wholesaling, brokering, all that?
Just buy and hold. I just closed on my 3rd duplex out of state. So
oh wow.
Yeah, just dipping my toes in, kind of getting new into it. So
well, that's more than a dip the toe. That's like a full step into the pond right there.
Yeah.
How are you finding your out-of-state deals?
I've got a real estate agent over there that I met, and he's just sending me everything's but just been off the MLS.
Oh wow. Have
Pretty
you ever heard of our friend Jennifer Beadle's group?
Yes, I actually am on her email list.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure that you know about that. That's her jam for sure. And I think they have some sort of, I don't know what that is. I guess it's an agent investor boot camp thing coming up, but yeah, she's got a good deal flow. I know there's a lot of people that also just make relationships, maybe where they have family and little backup ground support there and just go for it. So what state are you investing in?
In Iowa, Davenport, Iowa right now.
Oh, how did you pick that?
Just started looking over. I had some friends over in Wisconsin, so looked over there and just kind of expanded out and found Davenport, and just kind of I flew over there, fell in love with the area.
Nice.
The prices are just really good.
Yeah. What are you paying for a buy and hold over there? Are you doing like a burr, or what are you doing?
No, these are pretty much turnkey. This one I bought for 110. The other two I bought for 68 and 78 last year.
Wow.
Midwest pricing, baby.
Did you have to do much work to them?
This one will be a little bit more work, but the other two were almost completely turnkey.
So what is the most recent one that you bought is what?
110.
110 and this one's gonna, how much you gonna put into it, you think?
Probably another 20, maybe.
So 130 and
Yeah.
then are you, what's it cash flow
Once
or
it's,
rent? What's the rent?
yeah, once it rents, it's going to be about 1650, 1700 a month.
Oh my God.
Isn't that amazing?
You know, so call it 1,500 divided by what, 130 we said? That's, yeah, that's like a third, over 13% return. I knocked off, I use 1,500 bucks a month for, because of taxes, insurance or whatever. Are the real estate taxes normal there or are they high like Texas?
No, they're pretty low.
And you just bought it right off the MLS?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Holy cow.
And was there other offers on it?
That one, no. There's no one competing right now. There's probably 7 on the market, and they've all been price cutting because no one's buying them up.
Wow, is that, what's the job base there? Or is there any population growth there to make it?
So
You know-
population is pretty stagnant right now, but it's not dropping. There's a John Deere factory, Nestle's there. There's 2 colleges. The best chiropractic college in the country is there.
Oh,
There's a military base not too far away, so it's a pretty good area.
Yeah.
oh, nice. Good for you. And you just paid cash or what'd you do?
Yeah, just conventional financing.
Conventional financing,
20%
25%. How much?
20% down on them.
20% down? Nice. Now, what rate you get?
This one is 5% 5-year arm, and then the others were 30-year fixed at, I think, 3.5 before everything went crazy.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that is a good deal, man.
Yeah.
You, look, are you gonna build a portfolio out there?
I'd like to, I'm gonna probably start looking into other areas as well. I think I've kind of hit my down payment limits right now, so probably sit with these to kind of build back. But yeah, my goal is to just kind of join and start meeting people in the area too, and just kind of make some connections over here too.
Well, I'm sure if you need some down payment partners to keep
Just
cruising,
gonna say a partner.
that'd be a good place to say, hey, I got a deal if anybody wants to partner up.
Right.
Just show up here on a Thursday every week. We're in the same place, same time, and don't miss out, on the, you could systematically average into the market and keep on trucking, with like a partner or a credit partner. And then, if you don't need them anymore or whatever, then you just roll on your own. But I wouldn't stop the train from rolling if you've had some success. It's more fun to have a partner too, sometimes, it lets you scale a little bit. So I
Right.
know there's some people right here that might even be interested in that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's kind of the reason why I'm here, is just to kind of meet people, figure out what the next steps are, and hopefully keep building.
right on, right on, right on. Good stuff. Well, we're kicking off here. What's up, Keith Pitch?
What's happening?
What up, brother? What
Hey,
are rates
neighbor.
at today?
Where are rates at today?
Yeah.
They're great. Rates are somewhere between as low as 4% on a 10-year up to like 7%, depending on your credit score, your down payment. I will say one thing about rates right now is look at options specifically with regard to loan to value. A lot of folks don't realize. I was talking to a jumbo client at the beginning of this week actually, and they were like, "Oh, we need to put 20% down." And I was like, "Hey, did you know if you put 25% down, rates get a hell of a lot better?" So each 5% is a different rating tier. So definitely look at your options, and as the consumer, make sure that you're asking for additional options.
Yeah.
Most people just step up to the plate and say, "Hey, I need this," and unfortunately, in the mortgage world, people don't know the difference between a light switch and an outlet. So, we have to help educate them. So for all of you out there,
I love
shopping for
your
loans,
metaphors, Keith.
yeah, you know, for all you shopping for loans, even in your own personal realm, make sure if you have excess cash available, the additional investment of 5% is most often well worth it.
Super good tips, brother.
Yep.
Where are you seeing people drop out right now? Where are people getting stuck? Oh, like where are you having borrowers just go, shit, I'm toast?
The
And
the
and
seven the
losing deals.
750 to $1 million buyers. The
That's what I
750 to $1
did.
million buyers are just effed right now. They are totally effed.
Yep.
And here's why. They're your typical move-up buyer or techie first-time home buyer. And what happened if they were approved at $1 million at the beginning of the year, they can now do like 700.
And they don't want that house.
And they don't want that house.
They don't
And
want it.
they don't want it. So I tongue in cheek, like, hey, you remember when we had this conversation in January and you decided not to make that offer? Well, good job.
Guess how they
So-
can get that $1 million house still with this problem, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
How?
Because things are sitting around and sellers are panicking, if the right situation exists with the seller,
Mhm.
right? And they, you know, they either have a low loan that can be paid off or something like that, then that buyer, if they're working with the right broker, because it requires work, like my whole team, I'm like, hey, in your market, make all these calls and we're all going to just help each other, right? If I have a buyer that needs to be in your market, what do you got? You guys keep tracking your own market. You call up
Yep.
and you say, hey, listing agent, that your listing's a little stale. That stale can mean 10 days. People start to panic after 10 days right
Yep.
now, still.
What world we live in? Oh
I
my
know,
God.
right? But so it's a pocket. That's why we want to show up here weekly, because this is what works today. You call them up and you say, hey, by chance, would your seller consider a contingent offer or a lease option, or, you know, or just say a contingent offer, because most of them know what that means. And if they say yes, then you say, actually, another scenario that might be actually better for them and safer for them than a contingent offer, if they have a little time and they don't need to cash out right away, would be a lease option. And then that buyer who wants to buy the $1 million house can get a lease option for a while in the right scenario and ride out the runway on rates dropping to where they can actually afford to close and exercise that option to buy that $1 million house.
Yeah, correct.
You
And
feel
it
me?
could potentially benefit the seller as well in terms of not having as large of a tax hit.
Yeah, for the, you know, and an option fee, you know, it's just such, lease options are like right now, like everybody needs to know about these. I'm
Yeah.
like on a total soapbox about this, but I love working with anybody who feels like they had to pause for a minute right now. It's just that they don't know enough to know they don't really. They just
Yes.
need to be working with somebody, that's whether that's investors or regular retail buyers or flippers who are, you know, having a moment
Oh,
of panic,
super.
you know.
Yeah.
Here's my bright idea for flippers who are getting caught in that price point, let's say, and now they got to take a price hit, they think, or whatever, right? Because, you know, maybe they're not tight enough, because the buyers right now, retail buyers, if you're a flipper, the retail buyers right now, they don't want to do any work because they still know they're having to pay the top price and all the news. And they're like, oh, maybe prices are going to go down, but they've been wanting a house so long. They want to still buy the house. They're willing to pay full market, but they don't want to do work or fixes on top right now. Right.
Mhm.
So the fixer upper buyer, that is fewer, that pool has majorly shrunk. Right. So, you know, if you're a flipper, let's say, and you're getting stuck with a stale listing or anything like that, or just a regular seller, this whole lease option thing, you know, to when you're trading terms, right? When you're giving
Yeah.
somebody an opportunity to have flexibility, that allows you to keep your price higher, right? I just did a video about it. I'm not gonna bore you guys all with that. You can go watch it. I don't
Well,
think
I mean, that's an important thing. We're working with a builder over here. And they're like, well, we don't want to drop prices, so
Because
concessions
that'll
are coming
lower their
back.
comps.
Yeah, exactly. Concessions are coming back.
Yep.
As well as like upgrade packages are coming back that the builder will just roll
Yep.
in and do because it really didn't cost them anything, let's be honest. But to preserve that watermark of the comps right now is super important, and this goes out to all the real estate agents too. The real estate agents, in my opinion, need to. This is the time that you earn your money in talking with those sellers that just want to drop their shorts and sell that house on a fire sale. Now is not the time. And so I've said this multiple times. We're going through our recalibration right now. This is not a correction. This is a recalibration of how we sell real estate in a 5 to 6% interest rate environment. And get your vacations done right now.
Yeah.
Because my forecast is this winter and next year is going to be smash you in the face fast, right? So just get ready for it. The same builder that we were talking to.
What do you
I'm
mean
like,
smash you in the face fast?
It's going to pick back up. It's going to
Yeah,
get
right,
crazy
yeah.
stupid. I just, the most recent example of this same exact
Lack of
situation that we're in
inventory,
right
man.
now is 2018.
18.
18.
Yes, agreed. Yeah.
Rates ticked up above 4 and everybody shit the bed. Everybody's like,
And
oh my God.
prices dropped 10% for a minute for those that panicked. And that is exactly when I started the lease option stuff.
2 months. For 2 months.
Yeah.
Prices came back down. They flattened out when So and if you guys want the data points, go look at Fannie Mae mortgage rate survey. Go look at all the housing values through recessionary periods. They kind of tick down right as we go into this recession, and then they go right back up. And then the next thing that you want to look at is on the other side of the recession, what do rates do? Every single time they fall, and they fall hard. So this is the dip right now that you can go acquire properties without having to go 50, 60, 80, $200,000 over ask. This is a great dip. So that's where your savings is. Money can be restructured.
There's still properties that are presented well and priced well for the strategy that are selling over the list price with multiple offers. But presentation matters and threading the needle on the right list price. Do you guys realize that you can still get multiple offers on your deals with one offer? With one offer? I mean, I'm sorry, you can still sell way over the list price with one offer. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And that's if you get enough traffic there that you get one offer that has an escalator in it. You just cross it out, counter back with a big bite out of it, not all the way. And you send a text to the buyer agent. Hey, check your email. I think your buyer is going to be super happy. You're not saying I sent you a counter. I think your buyer is going to be super happy. And they're like, oh my God, now they've played all their cards to you. How they've been looking forever. They're going to be so psyched. And then they go look, it's a counter, and it still works though, because people are still just going to close on houses. I think where people need to, if I was in the middle of a flip, what I would do is I would not just put a sign in my yard. Hopefully you all have that says we buy houses or whatever your sign is, but also put a sign out there that says, would you like to buy this house? Text whatever, and go ahead and pre-sell it. Well, why would I want to pre-sell it? Well, you want to pre-sell it because that's a favorable term to a buyer. And when you give favorable terms, like an off-market sale where they don't have to compete or anything, that allows you to keep your price high.
Can I take that one step further?
Go ahead.
We could do a renovation loan and get the flipper completely out of it.
Yeah.
And do all the work through their contractors. So now that they're paying off their underlying hard money loan with a renovation loan, the buyer is actually driving the financing at that point. So that's alleviating you there. And they could still do all the upgrades or whatever because they've already got the bids built. Yep. That's the biggest problem with
price
reno
point
right
on
now.
that, Keith? What's the max price point?
Max price point? It goes up to high balance. You can do 5% down on the high balance loan limit in the county that the property's in.
Yeah, it's FHA limits.
Up in King County, well, it's also conventional because I can do that on
Oh.
Fannie Mae. So what, 891 or whatever?
Yeah, it's not
I have one right
dinky
now.
little
I
piece
have
of
one
crap
right now.
houses.
Yeah.
I have a listing in Linwood coming on that needs about 40K worth of work. That's gonna be an awesome rambler for somebody. And maybe once it lists, I'm gonna shoot it to you and maybe
Yeah.
can you do me a little 203K type of scenario? We're gonna
Yes,
list
we
it at
can.
about 619.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah,
Drop 40K on it.
yeah. And then it's gonna
What's
be
the
worth
scope of work?
800. It's good, all it needs, all new, it needs to be replumbed because it's galvanized.
Okay.
And the roof's totally fine. It just has a shitty gutter system. So the eaves are rotting a bit. So we need to either,
Is it the California gutters?
it's the membrane with the eaves. It sucks.
Yeah.
So you can either
I
just
had that
cut-
on my Issaquah house. I cut that
Yeah.
off.
yeah, can either cut them off. What'd you do? Cut them off and stick the new gutters
Gutters.
on?
Yep.
Yeah. How much did that cost you?
It was, and to do the roof at the same time, it was about 23,000 bucks.
Yeah. Did you have to do the roof? Was your roof full?
The roof needed it, and since we were
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
we're just like, just get it done.
Yeah. So I got that and I need windows. And that's it, really.
What? That's it. Do you know how hard it is to get a window right now?
Well, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Is that's not emergency. Somebody could,
You can do that
Right.
over time. Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
well, hopefully they're standard sizes that you could just go down to Home
Keith,
Depot.
what's the term on the 203K on how long you have to get the renovation done?
So you have two sides, up to the streamline limit, which is 37,000 bucks of remodel. That has to be done within 90 days of closing. So if it's 37,000 or less, and then if you do the full, which doesn't have a top side, just loan limit is the top side,
Uh-huh.
those can take up to 12 months to reno the house.
Okay. Good shit right there, peeps.
Yep.
Bam. Well, let's see. Does anybody need any help with anything today? Anybody need anything?
I'm in a gray area. I want to talk to you guys really quick about. So I have my Oklahoma license. So everybody, quick update. I have Tennessee, Oklahoma, Florida. So if
Ooh,
anybody needs any help there, let me know. I also have Washington, Idaho, Utah, Montana, California, Oregon,
geez.
Nevada, and Arizona. So
Wow.
let me know how I can help. But so I was talking to this guy in Oklahoma. He was put in a lease option, and I want to go. He doesn't want to buy the house. A long story behind that. I won't go into that detail. But his option is for $85,000, and the Zillow price, right? I'm holding my disbelief, right? But the Zillow price is at 145, and he just wants out. So I was like, why don't you actually just buy this house on the option? And
Aren't
then
you
turn
assign
around-
your option?
Or
Yeah,
assign it and sell it.
Yeah, so I've never done that before. So what would my steps be in that? Like get a copy of the lease, I'm assuming?
For you to buy it?
Yeah, for take over his assignment.
get a
I don't know
copy.
if it's assignable or not.
Keith,
Well,
we can, I'm happy to help you with that.
Okay. Yeah, because that's sweet. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had a client years ago and she was an investor and we did a few lease options to help her exit some of her properties. And there was one that was almost the exact same situation. And she was like, shoot, I don't know why they didn't just close on it and sell it. They gained like 75,000 in equity,
Right.
you know?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. And I'm like, what the heck, on God's green earth.
Yeah, so
Uh,
just get a copy of the lease and the purchase and sale agreement and the.
Or
option
whatever
agreement.
paperwork they have,
Yeah.
because I can tell you, they're all done differently.
Right.
But yeah, there's usually, unless it specifically forbids them from doing something, there's probably a way around it. And even then, I mean, okay, do transactional funding on it, especially at that price point. Shoot.
Right. Well,
So-
and if I
so-
can't
so-
buy out his option, I just go back to the seller and just say, hey, look, you had the option here at 85. I'll just give you 85 now. We'll write up
Yeah.
this and be done.
Or
with
you
it."
do a novation, which means that you just write up a new contract for the same and it terminates the old contract and puts
Yeah.
yours in place.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
It's called novation. Watch our video on our YouTube channel, Corey, the one that we did on Novation recently with Corey Geary. Everybody should listen to that because it is the new way of wholesaling. And Mariska, one thing I was going to say is, why can't we list lease options as an equitable interest, list them for on the MLS, and just, why can't, if you can list a wholesale on the MLS, you can
That's
list a lease
brilliant.
option on the MLS.
Okay, so
Can you?
you threw that word equitable interest in there. Why, what's your thought process there?
Well, we don't, because we're worried about that in regards to somebody being tied to that for foreclosure, right? So I don't know. I don't have a thought process. This just
Okay.
popped in my
So,
mouth.
so I mean, you certainly, I mean, you know, you can list rentals on the MLS, you can list for sale properties on the I mean, like, for example, Texas, you cannot do lease options in Texas, but you can do a purchase and sale with
Wait
a
a
1-year
minute.
close, 1-year escrow.
Hold on a second. You know, you just said you can't do lease options in Texas, right?
Can't do them in Texas, but
But-
you can. There's ways
But
around
You
it.
know what Homeward is? I've
Yeah.
had 2 clients.
But they're buying the property. Homeward
right.
is
Okay,
buying the
right.
property, and then, yeah.
leasing it. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
that's a different beast. But
How can we list a lease option on the MLS like we list a wholesale?
That's a great-
I would say, I mean, I guess I'd have to think of what the language would need to be, but I mean, there should be a way to do it, because I mean, like, before I was a realtor, I used to, you know, we'd oftentimes have them listed both on the rental side. I mean, all those Zillows and everything have changed, but we used to list them for sale by owner as well as you know, for rent. And then, you know, just to kind of market to both sides of the equation. And for sale by owner, I mean, we used one of those, you know, for salebyowner.com companies. So it actually did get listed on the MLS. And then we would say, you know, lease option terms for, you know, deserving buyer with large, you know, option consideration or something like that. And, you know, so it could be for sale or lease option.
What if your lease option is assignable
Yeah.
and therefore maybe, you know what, let's
So you
and
just
me-
have it under contract with the owner of the property. Are you?
Well,
okay.
What I'm worried about is that whole, like, keeping the lease separate from the purchase and
Mhm.
sale agreement due to the foreclosure thing.
Yeah.
So does that complicate somehow listing a lease option? How about we do this? You and me, because we talk all the time, let's figure it out offline this next week.
Mhm.
And then next week we'll tell everybody what we figured out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to end up talking about it for,
And I would say, by the way, I don't know. I mean, I know foreclosure sucks, but on the other hand, just because you're going through foreclosure doesn't mean that you can't do a contract, or that you can't do a deed in lieu of foreclosure. I mean, unless you've got somebody that you're just barring heads with. But I tell you what, if you set them up right from the beginning and you're selective about who you're working with, I've had people exit their lease options and apologize to me for not holding up their end of the bargain. And I'm like, look, you had the option, not the obligation to buy. So, I mean, there's unless somebody is just like, and by the way, I'd be careful about who I do lease options with. There are certain professions that I wouldn't do. And then just certain personality types. But, you know, I think, and even when I've had to foreclose on people, like from notes that we've had that have gone bad and we've had to foreclose on them, you know, either the foreclosure, if it's just like Washington is by statute, you know, it's like, okay, you got to wait your time out, you know, whatever. But also if it's, you know, if it's a privately held deal, I mean, you can usually do a deed in, or you can oftentimes, I shouldn't say you can, but you can oftentimes do a deed in lieu. So I don't look at them as the big bad boogeyman that some people put them out to be. I know it's stressful to think, oh my God, I'm having to do a foreclosure, but I've done several of them and really they're not that bad.
well, and I think it matters where you're starting from. Like if you're an investor doing the lease option, maybe it's not as big a deal to you, but if you're working with a homeowner as a broker.
But you have to just be there to hold their hand and
Yeah.
just tell them it's going to be okay, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Hey,
you
can
know,
we
I mean,
talk
the
about
other option is that they can just do a contingent offer and that avoids the foreclosure thing as well,
Yeah.
right? No, yeah, so anyways, you and me figure it out
Yeah.
over the next week and we'll come back and report.
Hey, really quick, I just want to make sure everybody's really clear on the foreclosure numbers coming out right now, because it's a little bit pissing me off, and here's why. You guys, I've seen headlines. I do a lot of real estate blogs and what have you. Like, foreclosures are up 200, 2,000, 1,000% year over year.
They
We
were
all know
historically
why,
low. for-
right? Do we all know why? Because last year you couldn't foreclose on
Close.
anybody.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
So please make sure that you guys are out there as ambassadors of the real estate world, telling people like, don't believe the foreclosure numbers. Foreclosure numbers are actually lower than they were pre-pandemic. So we really should be benchmarking everything that's happening in 2022 against everything that happened in
2019 or-
2019,
Mhm.
right? So we're still like only I think it was just like 60% of the number of foreclosures that happened on pace year to date for 2019 are what's happening right now. So we're only 60% compared to our last healthy market, right? So please be very mindful of when you see year over year numbers, what are we comparing year over year? Because a lot of stuff is skewed right now.
Right.
Hey Keith, is that year over year at 60% versus 219? Or is that full year 219, we've already hit 60% at 50% of the year?
That's a good question. So year-to-date run rate through 2019, we're only 60% of the amount of foreclosures that happened in 2019 in comparison to their year-to-date.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good clarification.
Here's another one for you investors out there, especially like Todd, the buy and hold type people, or Holly and you guys on here. Let's talk on this topic for a second, Keith, is that loan assumptions. Loan assumptions, is that something, you know, somebody might have bought a house in the last year or two and they have to move for a job or something like that, and they had a 3% rate and they borrowed, you know, 80% or so or more of their oh, what's that? A unicorn.
It's a unicorn. That's what a loan assumption is.
Yeah, they're
It's a
not so
unicorn.
common anymore.
Okay.
What does that mean? Jacob's working on one right now. I know that's, tell me about it.
So assumptions do happen. I don't want to say that they don't, right? Most notably, the most assumable mortgage out there is a VA loan
VA.
still, right? VA entitled client to a VA entitled client, right? So the first thing, and I think this is a very prudent thing for every listing agent to be doing right now, is asking for a copy of the mortgage note. Do you have a mortgage, Mr. Lister? You do? Great. I need a copy of your note. So you, boom, 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 the listing agent can say, let me go dig through your note and see if it's assumable, because that will be a huge marketing
Open up
tool
a huge.
that we could go out and market to the greater masses that your loan is assumable. Every single FHA, every single Fannie Mae, every single Freddie Mac loan that was done in the last decade is not assumable.
Oh,
So if you have an old one, Julie.
so what year would it start? So 10 years ago, 2012?
Meltdown. You would have to get back to meltdown times, pre-meltdown, 2008 and earlier for Fannie, Freddie, or FHA, right? The flip side to that.
The thing is about that, then let's talk about that for a second. So then they have this low balance that doesn't make a lot of sense. Albert says FHA is assumable, but they have this low balance, right? So, but maybe how do you assume, you know, unless you have some huge down payment, which kind of kills the whole point a little bit.
Well,
Or-
that's what you have to do. You have to get creative. So,
Well, could you assume that with a lower balance and then at the same time put a HELOC on to get that loan to value up to 80?
you could, so you'd have to balance that out, and you have to remember that the incoming borrower they've got to be completely underwritten,
They've got
Yeah.
it.
right? So you're gonna come up against loan to value limits, credit scores, and debt to income stuff still, and you're gonna have to make sure that it meets the assumable underwriting guidelines of the lender, right? So The other carve out to this, your non-Fannie Freddie FHA shops, your credit unions and what have you, they don't securitize with the secondary market. So their loans could be very assumable,
Mhm.
right? So if you guys are working
You have to
Okay.
read the note.
you got to read the note. So any listings that you guys are taking on right now, you should be asking the seller for the note.
So credit unions, could be from 2 years ago, right?
Absolutely.
Anybody who holds their own paper and doesn't sell it on the secondary market.
Correct.
Albert, you with us? You want to pipe in on your thoughts? He said he almost assumed a fourplex on South Tacoma Way in 2014 from a VA loan.
Yeah, I tried to do that a few years ago as well. I mean, there has to be so much cooperation, on all fronts. And I don't know if this is true, by the way, but conceivably, if somebody had, say, an interest rate of 3%, and now we're looking at an interest rate of, north of 6%, the bank might be less incentivized to assume that loan, unless it's like a VA where they really, they need to take care of the vets. But, with just Joe Blow me or you.
Are they allowed to say no if it's in the doc?
I don't know. I mean, like Keith said, they have to go through, the full underwriting package. So I don't know.
So I guess they could find a flaw if they wanted to in the
They
underwriting.
could
package.
always find a flaw in the
Yeah.
underwriting. Come on.
Yeah, Jacob Weaver on my team, who's a broker investor, is in the middle of one right now. So we'll have him jump on and tell us how it went when he gets it done. But I'm hearing chatter about it a little bit, just curious. I don't, haven't brought that up with any of mine, but I love the idea of, yes, Keith's right. And this isn't about brokers. This is about, like, if you're an
It's
investor,
come on.
you want to know this
Yeah.
when you're going to look at.
What loan is he
God.
assuming, Julie?
He's doing it with a client, like a retail client.
But what loan are they assuming?
I'm
Like,
not
what's
sure.
the note?
I'm not
Private
sure.
or-
Yeah, I'm
okay.
not sure. I'll have to ask him. I'm gonna see him tomorrow, but I'll have him, once he gets it done, I'll have him jump on a Thursday here and tell us all about it.
I would assume the private notes are easier to assume, right? There's
I
not
would
some
assume
huge...
so, unless they had it.
No,
had
it's
their
not a
note
private
written.
note. It's not a private. note.
Oh, darn.
Unless they
There's
had
less
Jeff Watson write
bureaucracy,
their note
right?
for them.
There's less credit checks, less bureaucracy, less
I
decision
mean,
makers.
If you investors want to start pulling a niche list, you pull, I don't know, is there a way to pull? Actually, when I pull a list, I believe when I pull my lists, it'll tell you who the bank is, I believe, on the data that pulls.
Yeah, you can pull just LLCs and individuals. Then you'll only
Yep.
get private notes.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, there's a ninja list pull for that.
Mhm.
How do you do that in Idaho? Can you?
Well, we're just finding out that there may be some ways. Larry's been doing a lot of research and a lot of marketing and such, and so we're finding that there are some ways. But yeah, non-disclosure, it's not just automatically posted on Zillow and Redfin.
Have you checked PropStream? Because remember, I was telling you, I felt
We used to have PropStream, and I don't know. I can't remember if we had it when we first moved to Idaho. I know we dropped it around that time.
I would chat them up because
Yeah.
I would send them a chat because I feel
But we found some other things that might work,
Okay.
as well. So.
So also, Mariska, I made really good BFF friends with the Kootenai County Assessor, Bella. So after hosting that meeting last week,
Oh yeah, I bet.
like we've
Well,
had
I am licensed in Idaho, but I mean, but yeah, I'm sure we should have lunch or breakfast sometime. We've been meaning to do that.
Yeah,
so.
we need to get that done.
Yeah, these guys are out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So
Hayden, but who's counting?
I gotcha. What's
So I'm being real quieter because my camera's off, but anyway,
That's Larry.
that's me. Yeah, that's Larry. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a chat box. We're having that event here in Coeur d'Alene
Yeah.
in October, and I extended the coupon for anybody, the Seattle investors, that to save $96 off the current prices. That'll be good until July 2nd. And not to brag, but we have pretty much a rock star, including Julie Clark is going to be one of our speakers. She's not on the website yet, but she will be soon. But God, we got like Bob Zachmark, Ryan Gibson, Claude Diamond, Joe McCall, Jennifer Beatles, Mariska.
You guys got Jennifer now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit,
Yeah.
this is gonna
Yeah.
be good.
And then also we've got a couple of local people that are going to be here, and also
We've got a CPA.
yeah, our own CPA who's coming from.
Why don't you
Florida,
get, what's his
Chicago.
name? Clint Coons to come out.
You know,
Yeah.
we've debated on that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
we
either
thought
get
we had
Clint or
Jeff
probably
Watson.
Michael Bowman.
Jeff Watson really wanted to, but he's got another conflict. So
Dang it,
So
that
we're-
would have been so fun.
I know. And I actually texted him just the other day and, you know, said something about, you know, blowing off your lame event in Alabama. And he's like, so would it be worth my while, do you think, to leave the event early and then come out? And I'm like, well, you know, you're the only one who can make that call, but I'm imagining the flight connections are not the greatest from Alabama to Idaho.
So it's gonna be fun, man. Maybe we can get a group bike ride going or something too.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
we're
we are
welcoming-
going to have a cruise on Saturday evening.
Saturday night,
So
yeah.
just like a networking cruise on the lake, a lake cruise. And then, yeah, we could go for a hike or a bike ride or, you know, whatever on Sunday.
Sweet, can't wait. What's the date
The
October
21st and 22nd
22nd, yeah.
of October?
of October. I'm sorry. Yeah. Of October.
Yeah. Larry, put that in the chat, the date. Oh, I guess it's on the thing, but you should probably put it in the chat anyways. Awesome, guys. I can't wait. It's going to be so good. What else is going on? Who else has questions today? That's a lineup, brother and sister. Who else has questions today? Scott Price, what's up?
Hey there, I had to find my my unmute button. Going fine.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
stuff.
Hopped in a little late. I was working on something, but just wanted to say hi.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Good to see you. You buying anything? Got anything you're working on?
Actually selling a couple things. Got an unsolicited offer on a small office building that I own, and then working on one with an apartment complex. Kind of a weird time to be both buying and selling now, obviously. But
You mean you're buying an apartment complex or selling it?
selling
Oh.
potentially. Yeah.
Where's it at?
Up here on Whidbey, actually, Oak Harbor,
How many units?
29.
I got somebody for you.
Oh, okay.
If you're interested, I can send, they're kind of, small portfolio type guys that are local here. That would be interested. They could bite something off that size probably.
Mhm.
When you're
Okay,
ready,
yeah.
if you feel like it,
Sure. Yeah, I was kind of kicking that around, but and then I've got a changeover at one of my office retail buildings, so dealing with that, you know.
I mean, you
it's all-
gotta do a new lease up.
Yeah, exactly.
Tenant
Yeah.
improvements and all that
Yeah.
jazz.
Had a real long-term, really good quality tenant there, but it's in a good location. So it, you know, but I've already got some people interested and haven't really marketed it. But
Sweet.
anyhow, working on that and just been keeping an eye out. Obviously, the biggest issue now is financing. You know, as far
Right.
cap rates are the same and financing sucks. I mean, relative to the cap rates, you know. I mean,
You know who you should
historically,
talk to?
rate- What's that?
If you want some, I know somebody you could tap into for like, I know you'd have a lot of financing, you know who to call and all that stuff, but who shops the hell out of lenders, it'd be Ryan Gibson.
Hmm.
You know, like, cause you do some bigger deals, right? I mean, that'd be a good person to say, hey, where's the best, where are you getting hearing the best deal from lately? I was thinking Ryan.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know Ryan, but I haven't talked to him about that. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. I have a rental in Ballard. If anybody knows anybody, it's ready pretty much now. It's a 1-bedroom with a den, has a washer dryer, comes with a garage parking space, all that jazz, all new flooring and paint. At Noma, which is downtown Ballard, for 2,300. If you know anybody, it's about 787 square feet. 787. Oh, what am I asking? 2,300 includes parking spot in the garage, secured spot. So good stuff there. If anybody knows anybody on that. What else do we got here? 12:10. We got a little bit more time. Anybody else need anything? Who can I pick on? Richard Mercado, what's up? Can you hear me?
Hey there, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm actually down in Los Angeles area, but
Awesome.
I love hearing you guys talk, and I always learn a little bit, so I try to peek in when I can. Thank you for
Are
making
you,
it available.
you're not buddies? Did you just host an event?
I did not actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little unusual to your group because I'm in LA, but I invest in North Carolina and a little bit in
Oh.
Los Angeles, so I'm kind of all over the place.
Well, we got another guy in our group that's not here today that also invests in LA. His name's Dante. Have you been on? When he's on, he does the boarding house style.
No, I don't know Dante. Might be a good guy to connect with.
Absolutely. He would be. Are you on our Facebook page?
I am.
I
Yeah.
will tag you guys.
Okay.
He does, like I said, the boarding house style, investing down there in LA. I think he's got 2 or 3, or he's on something like that. What type of investments are you looking for?
Well, in North Carolina, I'm doing mostly single family homes and small multi. The price points are quite considerably lower there than they are in Los Angeles. I do
You're
have
doing like
one
buy and holds out there?
buy and holds, yeah, long term.
What
And,
city is that?
A few. Fayetteville, big military town, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Fort Bragg's out there, so a good solid military base. As long as they don't get deployed, it's good. And and then I also invest in a couple properties in Durham, North Carolina, hot market. It's just
Yeah.
harder to get anything to cash flow there now.
Yeah.
Have a couple in Burlington, North Carolina, one in Greensboro, and one in Winston-Salem. So kind of spread out a little bit.
Where's Columbia? That's south. You're north.
South Carolina. Yeah, I'm in North
Yeah.
Carolina.
Okay, gotcha. Awesome.
Yep. And then I
Dang,
have
what
one.
what made you pick that market?
At the time I started investing there about 3 years ago. All of the indicators, population growth, great technology sector, awesome universities, seem to be a good population moving in there of young folks looking for homes, and it was a cash flowing market. I could make it work. So all of the things I couldn't do in LA, I could do there. And then I had spent a little time there, so I liked the area, and met a property manager through Bigger Pockets that when I went out to visit, he immediately brought his contractor out there and kind of set me up with his team. So I just kind of hit the ground running.
Sweet.
It's
Are
been a
you
good
aware,
market.
Jennifer Beatles and all that?
I don't know. Oh, is she in the RIA out there? Or?
Oh, no. Jennifer Beatles is addicted to ROI.
Oh, I don't know. Jennifer.
And she
Okay.
Agents
is,
Invest. Yeah.
yeah, Agents Invest and addicted to ROI. And she has
Okay.
a steady flow of out-of-state deals in, hot markets for buy and hold investors and that sort of thing. Has a whole platform to connect you with deals in those markets. I don't know if North Carolina
Fantastic.
is one of her markets, but
I'll look her up. That sounds very interesting. Or if you have her
Yeah.
contact information, please send it my way.
yeah. Or just jump on Facebook and look for Addicted to ROI
Okay.
and join that group, and you'll be inundated with information there.
Terrific. Right.
Cool.
So awesome. Nice
Yeah.
to meet you all. Thank you for
Yeah,
making this
thanks for
available.
joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, invite your friends. We have people come from out of state because what we're talking about is pretty evergreen,
It's universal. Absolutely. At this
Yeah.
point. Right. We're
Have
all in
you,
the same boat.
Have you seen our YouTube page yet for Seattle Investors Club?
I don't believe I have at this point.
Oh, so for, all you guys should jump on YouTube and search Seattle Investors Club. I don't know who's there. Maybe somebody can drop it in the chat. But we
I'm
have
there.
hundreds of podcasts on there on topics that you're probably going to love. A
Okay.
lot from some of the people that are on here with us today, but like pretty much anything you could think of that you need, we probably have covered. And then we actually record these meetings every week. So if you missed one, you can go, it costs you $220 a year, best money you'll ever spend in your life, to
Okay.
join Seattle Investors Club. And then you can listen to all these weekly recordings if you're rolling around the car or whatever. We're starting to try and, timestamp them a little bit and timestamp our podcast so people don't have to listen to the whole thing and can jump in where they find interest. But anyway, I think it's good info, not embarrassed to say so.
Okay.
Check it out, subscribe, like, whatever you can do to help us out would be awesome.
Right now, I'm trying to figure out whether I should hold on to properties and put a little bit more money in to get even higher cash flow, or to maybe sell a couple and keep some more in reserves in case opportunities present themselves. So I'm kind of casing out a few properties in North Carolina that have done really well for me as far as cash flow. But the market might be cresting there a little bit, might be a good time to sell, or just hold on for a while till the next cycle, you know. That's
I mean,
kinda
what's
where I'm
your
at.
investing goal? I mean, is it you, I guess sell, you got the burden of trying to buy.
Yeah, ultimately, you know, passive income, you know, I'm still a W-2, I work in TV, hence being in Los Angeles, and
Oh, there's
I've
some
got it-
great strategies you could do.
Yeah.
My
Oh
goodness.
man, I got a good one for you.
Uh-huh.
Hey Keith, since you're on the thing, can somebody grab Justin Cambra's podcast off our YouTube page and drop it down here for Richard?
Great.
So we did a great podcast. Albert, you did that with me. If Albert's on there, with our friend Justin Cambra, who basically uses his W-2 and his RSUs to build his portfolio of buy, hold, passive income. And it's just a good listen. That probably might apply to you.
Great.
Yeah,
Perfect.
the RSUs lately have been crushed. All of my
Yeah,
people are
right?
trying not to sell.
Yeah,
Their stocks are
I've,
down so far. Sorry,
I'm with
go
you.
ahead.
I've been very much resisting the temptation to sell, especially if it's already cash flowing, you know. But I also keep hearing there's going to be tons of opportunities presenting themselves. So I also want to keep enough reserves in case there are opportunities, or in case of recession also. So
Richard, I'm going to go on the record and say there's not going to be a ton of opportunities that aren't
Okay.
already present in the market. Everybody's waiting for this tidal wave in every market that I've talked to, that, oh, there's this big, huge correction coming. It's if you look at the basic fundamental of supply and demand.
Tell him who you are, Keith, so he knows how you're qualified. to
Keith
say so.
Pitch, Loan Depot. I've been in mortgage for 23 years now, and
okay.
watched multiple cycles go up and down. There's huge fundamental differences in this market in comparison to 2008, which everybody wants to go back to.
Sure.
Number one, the equity position in housing is way through the roof. If people have a distressed situation, unless they bought in the last year, they're going to be easily able to exit that house, move stage left, and move on with their life, right? The second thing that I was going back to, supply and demand says we just do not have enough housing still. NAR says it, the Master Builders Association says it. We're still about 1.6 to 1.8, depending on who you talk to. We're that many units short. We need more doors, and we just don't have
And
it.
we're screwed until they change zoning.
Yes.
Until they change zoning.
Well, we're screwed a lot ways other than just zoning, because specifically here in Coeur d'Alene market, they can't build them fast enough. They don't have enough people to build them fast enough.
Yeah.
And it's super sad. And then the last point that no one really talks about, go do yourselves a favor, go pull the date births of millennials and see how many millennials are coming to the market in the next 5 years. Good gravy, we should be building at about 2 million units a year, and we're only pacing 1.1.
You know what? You know what? What about that? I always think this model right now, buy a house that you can carve out that dadu, where you can separate that lot, and then, keep the dadu as a rental.
Totally could.
Sell the house, keep the dadu as a brand new construction rental.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I don't hear
Totally
you
could.
talking about that.
So I think this is going to be the summer of stabilization, and whatever deals you can pick up this summer, that's going to be your window. I mean, that's it.
That's kind of
Yeah,
a vote for not
I'm having a
selling.
hard time with deals right now just because I can't get the numbers to work with the higher interest rates. I'm just crashing and burning. Every one I try to make happen, it's just too thin right
Do
now.
a lease
So,
option. Get your runway longer.
That's what I'm doing, Julie. I'm working on seller contracts or seller
Yep.
financing or terms.
For sure.
That's what everybody needs to be focusing on right now is how do you get yourself a longer runway? That's all you
Right.
need.
Find
all
out
you
if
need
your
is a
seller
little-
has a low interest rate on their, underlying debt, and, see if you can, you may not be able to assume it, but they might be willing to do a wrap or something.
Wrap and go. Yep.
Mhm.
wrap
Like
and
what was
Oh,
popular in
Marisha.
California was AITDs. I don't know if they do them in Washington, but all inclusive trust deeds.
Yep.
It's like a loan that wraps another.
It's like a wrap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you
Good
explain
topic.
that to me? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah,
Like when
Marisha,
you,
need
I've
a music video.
refinanced out of it. Oh, go ahead.
So basically, the underlying loan stays in place. And so the seller continues to make that payment. Although if I were doing this deal, I would want to have some control so that I'm making the payment. But then you're making a separate wrap payment that wraps around the underlying loan. So say they have, a $300,000 loan at 3%, and you're, or whatever, maybe those numbers are too high, but just for example's sake. So you've got a $100,000 loan at 3%, and they're selling the house for $200,000. And maybe you can do that at 3% as well. And you wrap around that. So there's a separate $200,000 loan that's going to the owner of the property. And then you're
seller finance.
So it's basically seller finance is what it is. But the underlying loan may stay in place unless you have the cash to wipe it out, but that all-inclusive deed of trust or a wrap note, or, I mean, there's a bunch of different flavors, but
Is that considered, Mariska, how does that wrap work then when you're actually transferring the deed? Is it kind of like a sub to wrap?
Yep.
It's a subject to wrap.
Yep.
There has to be a subject to component if you're actually taking the deed.
Yep.
Are you following, Richard?
Yeah.
So you're buying the house subject to the existing mortgage. You don't want to pay the seller and then have that and trust that they're going to pay the mortgage.
Exactly.
So you're going to have
you're going to want to have a lot of paperwork to make sure that, and including, you're going to want to have a limited power of attorney, so that in case any of your other paperwork, like your authorization to speak with the insurance company, your authorization to speak with the lender, your authorization to speak with, the taxing authority, whatever it is, you want to have all those authorizations in place. And then just to be safe, you want to have a limited power of attorney as well to give you authorization to speak with whomever. Yeah, when you're doing something like that, if you're leaving the underlying loan in place and leaving the seller on the, their name is on the original loan, you've got to have some control.
How do you approach a seller about this pitch? How do you get them not to be afraid of all the paperwork and logistics?
Don't make it scary.
Mm-hmm.
But there can be some good reasons for it. I mean, not everybody is going to want to do it, right? But people who have a good reason to move out of their property,
and they don't need the cash.
And they don't. That's the key. They don't need the cash today. Maybe like you, they have some rental properties and they kind of like the cash flow.
Yep.
Well, hey, Mr. Seller, what if you could continue getting the cash flow and not have such a big hit with capital gains? You can extend your sale, your runway, because you're actually, I'm not a CPA, but my understanding after talking with CPAs and attorneys is that you only have to claim the income that you receive in a given year. So if you're receiving 1/30 of the income and then 1/30 of each, so you can shift that tax liability to years where maybe it makes more sense for you, or just lower your overall income so that you're not getting such a big hit. So, Julie made this is absolutely critical. They have to not need the money right now.
Right.
The ideal candidate is a landlord. No more tenants and toilets. You get to keep your cash flow. We call it interest instead of rent. And we help you with your tax bill.
It can also be an FHA buyer who has no equity and needs to move. Or an FHA seller, I should say.
Seller, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this market lends itself to extracurricular discussions. For the last 2 years, it really wasn't a talking piece, because put it on the market, it's gone.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
One thing that I do want to say though,
the last time I was rocking lease options and that stuff was exactly 2018.
Yeah.
exactly what's
Yeah.
going on now.
I threw the Freddie Mac rate survey in there if you guys want to look at it in the chat. All the gray boxes, if you go back to 1970, all the gray boxes are recessions. I mean, rates come like this, that they kind of tick through the recession, then come down right after the recession. But what I was going to say, Richard, to your point, and investors in recessionary times, lenders will tighten the belt and they will require more reserves per house that you have on your portfolio. So just do keep that in mind as we go into this recession, that you are prepared with proper reserves. Somewhere in the 6-month range per property is typically the watermark. I've seen some lenders, especially in the jumbo market, kick that up to 12 months per property. But it is an important part, so it doesn't seize your engine of continuing to acquire properties, that you have the proper reserves in place.
Right. Good point.
I would 100% echo what Keith says, even if you're doing private seller financing. However, keep in mind that with private seller financing, they're probably not going to check or ask if you have reserves. But if you're going through a bank, you definitely, you need to plan for that. But I would argue that even if you're doing private financing, you want to make sure you have reserves, because you want to make sure you can pay your notes.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott, what's changed on your end with have you had to do any multifamily commercial financing in the last 6 months?
Question.
Not in the last 6 months. I bought, the last thing I bought was kind of close to the last 6 months. The particular one that I bought cash flowed well, so that helped quite a bit. But yeah, the one thing that's I'd say it's somewhat related, a little bit different than your question, but it related is for instance, everybody was talking about assumable loans earlier, and there are options, unlike, I think everybody was just talking about single family or 1 to 4 unit, financing.
Commercial's different.
There are options with commercial, and it's one of the things I ran into with that one property I mentioned that I'm getting ready to sell, and where it's assumable, and the prepayment penalty was pretty significant, because I had it when rates were 4.99, and it has what's called yield maintenance on it. And for those who don't know what that is, that's basically when the interest rates go down, then your prepayment penalty goes up. And but now the interest rates are going back up, so I have the advantage of that prepayment penalty has gone from, at one point I figured out that the prepayment penalty was, I believe it was almost 30% of the loan principal balance. A 30% penalty if I had gone out of it, because of it going down from 4.99 to 3, and but now that's not the case.
The point, very good, Albert. I think you and I were talking about this a week or two ago. Huge thing that nobody's really talking about. We touched on it 2 weeks ago, is that the prepayment penalty calculations, right? That so everybody needs to be aware that there could be a strike zone for them to take some action, right? Because the rates, because of the change in rates going up, right? Your prepayment, however that gets calculated, might not be as scary right now.
Yeah, and it actually could be
yes,
a benefit, as well.
Totally.
Scott, she was talking about yield maintenance, so the way that calculus works.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, because Scott does bigger loans, he might come up
Exactly.
with yield maintenance.
Yeah.
Especially agency loans or Fannie Freddie multifamily.
I mean, talk about, Scott, even for you, a ninja type of list to pull would be, people got affected from COVID, right? The commercial buildings, let's say commercial buildings, not necessarily multifamily, but commercial buildings. And if they had any leases coming up, they might have had to renegotiate a really low lease, much lower lease. And if their loan was maturing for some reason in the last, or is maturing in the next 12 to 24 months, and they had to lower their rents, right? they might not be able to, I'm just making this up as I talk. They might not get their appraisal numbers where they need to be for their refinance. If they have to refinance now or within the next 12 to 24 months, because they dropped their lease rates so much and had such vacancy related to COVID. So if you can pull a list of what loans might be maturing on the commercial side in the next now to 24 to 36 months, or I'd say 24, depends on how long of a lease term they, you know what I mean? Somebody could be stuck. They could look like they're 100% occupied, but their rates obviously went down, their NOI went down, and you know, who knows where cap rates are right now, and they could be where they are in a pay down situation for their refinance. And maybe it's a good time to slip in, right?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly can be. There are a lot of, 3 and 5 year commercial loans out there that may come due. And then there are people who, do longer 7, 10, and 12s and things like that.
I would say it's the people that it wouldn't be the 3 to 5s, because why would some, I guess maybe,
Well, I mean, the flip side is that unless you're in a really bad situation, the rents have gone up quite a bit. You'd have to be kind of mismanaging something pretty seriously if you
have
bought
rents
something
gone up
7 or
quite a
10
bit?
years ago and can't can't refinance what you bought it for back then. Your NOI should theoretically be a good bit higher by this point.
Yeah, I hear you. I understand what you're saying, but if you had trouble during COVID, I don't know. I don't know. I got to think through it. I feel like there's a pocket there. You guys feeling me? I feel like there's something there. There's
Yeah,
something.
well, I mean, it does apply to anybody that rates, for commercial loans, people might have a gun to their head, so to speak, and
Exactly.
that balloon, so to speak, may come due, and if so, they're that one part of their profit and loss statement is going to be a lot higher for financing.
Or how about anybody that bought a project and is on a bridge loan? Because they were doing it, there you go, right? They're doing a value add on a bridge loan, and now they're screwed on their stabilization loan.
Yeah, well, that's one of the biggest issues going on right now in general is, so many people have, so many investors on larger deals have used bridge loans and just rode the inflation train. And that's not, it's not, number one, underwriters aren't necessarily going to agree with that inflation train as much. And then number two, the interest rate, when you exit out of that bridge loan could be significantly higher. And if you want to buy a rate cap, in other words, if you want to buy insurance, so to speak, to cap where your rate might be, that's a lot more expensive now, a lot more expensive.
Right.
I mean,
that would be in multifamily. I bet you there's tons of people that bought, in the last 18 months on a bridge, or something like that, right? If you're able to get.
I mean, it all depends. If they had a good value add business plan and they may not be cash flowing as well as they want, but if they truly did increase rents and all that, they may very well be fine.
I was listening to Ken McElroy talk about this, right? Where they have projects where, because they did the value add, they have their equity gain. But because of where they have to get out of their bridge on or where the rates are, they lost their cash flow going forward. So they just want to sell those, maybe because their cash flow game is now not the return they're looking for, but they did get the equity gain, right? And maybe they want to redeploy that capital now, right? And maybe they're willing. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like for instance, the unsolicited offer, and then the other one that I was looking to sell, it's all I really like both of those properties, but it's purely return on equity. I've owned them long enough that I'm better off redeploying the equity somewhere else. I can get more cash flow
because you've burned through your depreciation, or why are you better off?
No, I still have depreciation, but I can get depreciation in something else, and I can potentially get more depreciation by going to a bigger property. So, it's not so much that, it's just that, again, return on equity. have enough equity in it that
You can trade up.
the rent, that I'm getting relative to that equity, or I should say the total NOI really. And in actuality, more than NOI, really my bottom line, NOI after financing is really the answer. My cash on cash return is better off if I take the equity out and redeploy it somewhere else.
Gotcha. Sweet. Can't just do like a refinance out of there and
I've done that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have done that, and I do that occasionally. Yeah.
Yep.
Like on that 29 unit, I did that. I took money out, and so.
Yep. Well, good stuff, guys. Last call for questions. We're gonna hang it up here today. And we're gonna move on with our days. Everybody good? Thanks for coming. We got a couple people have already dropped off. Richard, nice to meet you. Todd, good to see you.
Yeah, nice meeting you too, everybody. I'll keep checking in. Good
Right on.
information.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. You too.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Julie.